I am woman, I am fearless, I am sexy, I'm divine, I'm unbeatable, I'm creative, honey, you can get in line.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Pearl Motabane. How you doing today? Today, I decided to be a little bit of tangent and speak about a topic that I usually don't go into, mainly because one, it is politics, and politics is just usually a messy space, and one can get a bit riled up, and two, I'm not very much into politics, and when you start talking about such topics, some people can become a bit emotional, and then discussions can start to get a bit heated unnecessarily most of the times. However, let's face it, whether you are into politics or not, whether you participate or you don't, we are all directly affected by the decisions that those that we collectively put into power take on our behalf. We are affected. So we are in it, whether we like it or not. Nonetheless, whatever I want to say here today is my point of view as somebody who actually votes. I vote, guys. I think that when you understand what your vote means, you start to take it a bit more seriously. It's your choice. It's your voice. Yeah, we need to understand what exactly our vote means. Now, we all know Zimbabwe recently held its national elections, and the president of the ruling party was re-elected back into power. So upon appointing his cabinet, his ministers, the president brought in his son as the deputy finance minister. He brought in his nephew as the deputy minister of tourism. And apparently he already had one of his sons as a member of the presidential guard in the military. So let's just pause right there. What does that look like? It's already starting to look like a little family tree right in the middle of the parliament. One doesn't have to be a political analyst or some law degree holder to see that this is nepotism. By definition, nepotism is an act of granting an advantage or privilege to relatives or close friends in an occupation or in a field. And these fields include but are not limited to business, to politics, entertainment, sports, or whatever. But literally, guys, this is not the same as somebody starting their own little business and deciding to have their son or their nephew be part of the business to make sure that they can take over the business at some point. It's totally different. But by definition, it doesn't really matter how anyone looks at it. Appointing family members as government officials, it looks like nepotism to me. I'm cognizant of the fact that across the continent, there's been countries that have done this, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. And in fact, there are no success stories where one can say, look at this country or that country, this family was all in parliament, they managed to make a success out of that setup. Because quite honestly, it's not a setup that is done for noble or ethical reasons. It's not. As an ordinary voting person trying to make a living every day and facing all these economic challenges, high unemployment rates, high crime rates, education crisis, electricity crisis, water crisis, high food prices, fuel prices. I mean, honestly. Now imagine after spending a whole day on a long queue just so you can vote and exercise your right to choose. Then immediately after that, this is what you get from your chosen leader. He brings on his kids to come and take care of national matters. I'm sure there were a lot more people who could do that job, a lot of justice. And in any case, to you, will this be an indication of great things to come? Because to me, it's not. It's not an indication that we're about to get some greatness out of this setup. Does this in any way look like this is someone who has plans to fundamentally improve the livelihoods of people? Because to me, it doesn't. In fact, when we are being very honest, it seems highly self-serving. The disheartening part of it is that it has undertones of being dictatorial and almost looks like a business continuity plan. You know what I'm saying? Only this one is for his family. You know how businesses will put measures in place to ensure continuity of the business in times of crisis. Yeah, this is what it looks like. It doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence to me. I get trying to surround yourself with people that you can trust, but also this should be about trying to rebuild an economy that has literally gone to ashes. It used to be a very great economy, by the way, but it needs somebody to rebuild it up. It should not be a family matter. The fact that the Constitution gives the president powers to be able to appoint his cabinet ministers does not really mean he should use them for his personal gain. Remember again that this is the same president that was implicated very strongly by the gold mafia documentary from Al Jazeera. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you do. If you've had a chance to watch that documentary, I'm sure you would have realized that there were quite a lot of allegations that were leveled against this president. Quite a lot of them. And his family was also allegedly in the mix of a very elaborate scheme of smuggling gold out of the country to different parts of the world. It was just too much to watch. The way it showed that Pastor Ebert Angel from one of these mega churches, proudly alleging to be the second in command after the president. And he was boasting that he can even take decisions on behalf of the president, allegedly. Even at one point calling the president's wife to just prove to these investigators who were undercover as potential buyers of gold, to just prove to them that he had the president's ear, alleging that as a diplomat he can literally go anywhere in the world with stacks of gold in his bag, but as long as the bag said diplomat, no one could touch it. It was overwhelmingly disappointing, to say the least. I'm sure there's more when it comes to that documentary, but for me, it was enough to show a little bit of what goes on. I didn't need to see more. I felt that it may have been put in the spotlight specifically on one country, but I also believe that if the same spotlight were to be turned around to any one of these mining countries within Africa, it will be the same shock all around. The reason why I felt like that was this. We all know that Africa is supposed to be so rich in mineral resources or natural resources, not isolating one country. It is also the one continent that is struggling so much economically. Also being cognizant of the history, of course. But at some point, we need to be able to see a correlation. We need to be able to see a correlation between these riches and the livelihoods of people. This probably points to a fundamental breakdown in the leadership. When you bring in your kids to occupy cabinet positions, what are you trying to achieve really at national level? Does that scream, I'm trying to make some serious changes here? No. Does it imply I have people's interests at heart? No. It's just a bit messy and highly likely to lead to corruption. And the very last thing that I want to point out is that the president of Zimbabwe is already 81 years old. Why is he still running for presidency? It's like this is the one job around the world where there is no retirement age. Red flag is that when an 81-year-old man starts surrounding himself with his sons and daughters and close family members, it seems to me like he wants to ensure that he's there for the rest of his days. It's a red flag for democracy. I'll leave it right there with my point of view, guys. Let's have this conversation. What does this say to you? If you don't see anything wrong, again, let's hear it from you as well. Everyone is allowed to have that point of view. I'll see you again very soon, and I appreciate you a lot.